Hey man, there's something deeply unsettling about watching a woman realize too late that she destroyed the one man who actually loved her with purity, patience, and purpose. She doesn't see it at first. When she walked away, she thought she was making the right decision. Maybe she told herself that you were too serious, or that you didn't excite her anymore, or that she needed to find herself. But what she really meant was this: she didn't recognize the value of stillness in a world addicted to chaos. She thought your calmness was complacency. She thought your patience was weakness. She mistook your consistency for predictability. And so she hurt you not by accident, but through a series of conscious choices disguised as emotional confusion. She tested your loyalty, your love, and your limits. And when you finally stopped fighting for her, when you finally decided to let go, that's when her illusion shattered. Because the truth is, good men don't leave because they stop caring. They leave because they finally see. They see that no matter how much love they pour into someone who refuses to value it, it'll never be enough. You tried, didn't you? You listened when she went silent. You stayed when she pulled away. You believed in her even when she stopped believing in you. You thought that maybe, if you were just patient enough, kind enough, steady enough, she'd remember the man who never gave up on her. But she didn't. She kept pushing, kept crossing lines, kept confusing your forgiveness for foolishness, until one day something inside you shifted. It wasn't anger, it wasn't revenge, it was peace. The kind that comes when a man finally realizes that he deserves to be seen, not tolerated. You stopped arguing, you stopped explaining, you simply withdrew, and that silence became the loudest thing she'd ever hear. At first, she didn't believe your distance was real. She assumed you were bluffing, that you'd always come back like before, that you'd break under the weight of her indifference, that you'd text her after a few days, begging to talk. But this time, you didn't. And that's what broke her. Because for the first time, she realized the game she was playing only worked when you cared more than she did. Now, your silence began to feel like punishment. Your absence became a mirror reflecting her mistakes back at her. She scrolled through your old messages, the ones she ignored, the ones filled with love, reassurance, and effort. She reread them, and for the first time, she felt something unfamiliar: guilt. The kind that creeps in late at night when she remembers how you looked at her with eyes that genuinely believed she was the one. That's the cruel paradox. Women rarely regret hurting good men immediately. They only feel the sting when that man stops being available to be hurt. When he takes his energy back, something inside them panics, because deep down they always believed you'd never actually walk away. You were the anchor, the safe place, the steady hand. But once that anchor cuts the rope, she starts to drift into waters she can't control. She'll go out with her friends, she'll laugh louder, post more, pretend she's free. But behind every filtered smile, there's a quiet ache, the kind that doesn't go away after a night out. Because what she's really trying to drown out isn't your memory, it's her realization that she broke something sacred. She'll meet men who talk smoother, dress sharper, make her laugh harder, but none of them will make her feel safe, and that's when your absence starts to haunt her. You see, safety isn't about comfort, it's about energy, and yours was the kind of energy that can't be replaced. It's the kind that women only recognize once it's gone. The way you made her feel understood without words. The way you didn't flinch when she was emotional. The way you carried yourself. Grounded, centered, stable. You didn't compete for attention, you commanded respect. But she was too blinded by emotional impulse to see it then. She confused stability for boredom, peace for lack of passion. She didn't realize that the very thing she found too calm about you was the same thing that would later feel like home. And when she finally met men who couldn't hold her chaos the way you did, she began to understand. She began to replay the moments when you stayed patient through her storms, when you loved her through her confusion. And for the first time, she saw your worth, not because you told her, but because the world outside of you failed to measure up. But by then, it was too late. You weren't waiting anymore. You weren't angry, bitter, or heartbroken. You were done. And that kind of calm is terrifying to a woman who once had all your attention, because it's not indifference born out of hate, it's detachment born out of clarity. You see her for who she is now, not who you wanted her to be. You've accepted the truth that love without respect is a slow form of self-destruction, so you stop trying to fix her, you stop trying to make her see, You stopped trying, period. And that's when she started trying for the first time. She texted you just to check in. She sent old photos, little reminders, memories, but the tone had changed. Her confidence was gone. Her words carried hesitation, vulnerability, and that quiet fear that maybe, just maybe, she was too late. When you didn't respond the way she hoped, that's when it hit her. She was no longer the center of your world. You weren't rude, you weren't distant, you were different. Polite, calm, peaceful, and that peace made her uneasy, because it meant that she no longer had emotional control. She used to be able to make you feel anger, love, confusion, anything, but now your silence said everything her words never could. You had moved beyond needing her validation. You had found yourself again, and in doing so, you became untouchable. It's strange how a man's silence can scream louder than his pain, because that's when she starts to remember every moment you stayed through her storms, every fight you diffused, every time you could have left but didn't. Now, all she can think is, he's finally done, and I pushed him there. Her friends will tell her to move on, to forget you, to find someone new, but she can't. Not because she's still in love, but because she knows deep down that she broke something she'll never find again. The kind of love that doesn't come with manipulation or conditions, the kind of presence that doesn't need to prove anything. She'll see glimpses of you in other men, the way they talk, the way they move, but it'll never feel the same. Because what made you special wasn't what you did for her, it was who you were for her. You were solid when she was unstable. You were patient when she was impulsive. You were real in a world built on pretending. And now, every time she remembers you, it's not the fights she thinks about, it's the silence afterward. The silence that felt too calm, too final, too powerful to ever undo. And that's when regret sets in. Not the kind that fades with time, but the kind that rewrites how she sees herself. She'll question why she couldn't love you properly, why she chose excitement over peace, why she pushed away the one person who would have built a life with her instead of just a moment. That kind of regret doesn't heal, it lingers. It follows her into new relationships, into quiet nights, into moments when she sees another woman holding your hand and realizes that could have been her. She'll try to convince herself she's happy for you, but deep down, she'll know. She didn't just lose a man, she lost a future. The kind of future that only happens when two people grow, not play. And now, no matter how many times she starts over, every road leads back to the same thought: I had something real, and I threw it away. But here's what she didn't expect: that you'd glow differently after she left, that your peace would radiate, that your silence would transform into presence, that while she was trying to fill the void with distractions, you were filling yours with purpose. You started leveling up, not to prove a point, but because you finally had the space to focus on you. The gym hits different when you're not carrying emotional baggage. The mornings feel lighter when you're not waking up to drama. The world looks clearer when you're no longer overthinking someone who was never sure about you. And as you rise, she watches from afar, trying to convince herself it doesn't bother her, but it does. Because deep down, she knows that she didn't just lose you. She created the man every woman will now want, and she'll have to watch another woman get everything she took for granted. As time goes on, she won't just remember you, she'll feel you in moments she least expects. When she's lying awake next to someone who doesn't ask how her day was. When she's having dinner with a man who checks his phone instead of listening. When she's crying in silence and realizes there's no one she can call. That's when she'll feel the absence of what you once were to her. Not the man who texted good morning, but the man who made her feel safe even when life didn't make sense. Your energy will haunt her because it wasn't temporary. You weren't a phase, you were foundation. She'll see your face in strangers, your strength in moments of weakness, your steadiness in the chaos of her new life. And though she'll try to suppress it, the thought will keep returning. He was real, and I ruined it. That's when regret turns from emotion into revelation, because now, she doesn't just miss you, she misses the version of herself that existed when you loved her. But while she's breaking internally, you're rebuilding externally. The same silence that she took as weakness has now become your weapon. You're not just healing, you're becoming unrecognizable. Every area of your life starts to shift. Your focus, your drive, your purpose. You no longer waste energy trying to convince anyone of your worth. You simply embody it. People start noticing. You move differently, speak differently, There's a calm strength in you that commands attention without demanding it. You're not trying to prove her wrong anymore, you're proving yourself right. And that's what truly devastates her, because she expected you to crumble, to spiral, to fade away quietly. But instead, you evolved. You didn't become colder, you became collected. You didn't become distant, you became disciplined. And now the man she once took for granted has become the man everyone else notices. She'll start telling people that you changed, and she'll be right, but not in the way she thinks. You didn't change because of her. You changed because of what her absence revealed in you. You realized how much potential you were wasting on trying to fix something that wasn't broken. It was empty. You realized that love isn't proven through sacrifice, it's shown through standards. You began setting boundaries, not out of anger, but out of wisdom. You stopped trying to be the perfect man for someone incapable of appreciating depth, and that shift, that unspoken reclaiming of your energy, is what she feels now every time she sees you. The distance you created isn't physical, it's spiritual. You outgrew the frequency she operates on, and that's why she can't stop thinking about you, because no matter how much she evolves, she knows deep down she can't vibrate that high again. She'll try to mask the regret, of course. She'll post her soft life pictures, her night outs, her vacations, her new flings, but that's the thing about guilt. It doesn't vanish just because you bury it under filters and captions. Every moment she spends pretending she's happy is another reminder that she's performing for an audience that doesn't even care. Because she doesn't want the world to know she lost a good man, she wants to convince herself she didn't. But her heart knows better. The same heart that once felt secure in your arms now feels restless in temporary attention. The same heart that once knew your patience now only knows instability. She'll keep chasing excitement to numb the emptiness, but nothing will stick, because nothing can compete with peace. And that's what you were, peace in human form. The irony? She used to call that peace boring. Now it's all she prays for at night. There will come a point where she tries to reach out again, not to reconcile, but to test her relevance. Maybe she'll comment on something you post. Maybe she'll text you a memory, something subtle like, "Remember when we..." But this time, your response won't feed her ego. You'll reply, calm, concise, polite, no resentment, no nostalgia, just closure wrapped in composure. And that's what will shatter her the most. Because it proves what she's feared all along. You're truly over it. You've reached that level of emotional freedom where you don't need her approval, her apology, or her affection. You've detached with dignity. And that's what makes you unforgettable. Because she's used to men who react, who argue, who beg. But you mastered the art of letting go with grace. You became the living proof that not all men collapse when they're left. Some rebuild empires in silence. And as you continue to rise, something incredible happens. You stop needing closure, and she starts seeking it. She'll want to know why you didn't fight harder, why you didn't try again, why you seem so unbothered. But the truth is simple. You did fight. You fought long before she noticed. You fought for her when she was distant. You fought for love when she stopped reciprocating. You fought for peace until you realized peace doesn't need to be fought for. It needs to be protected. So you chose yourself. And that choice changed everything. Because now, while she's caught in a cycle of emotional confusion, you've built structure, purpose, and direction. You're not cold. You're clear. You're not detached. You're defined. And that kind of clarity is something most people never find. You didn't just walk away from her, you walked into your power. The irony is that the same strength she once criticized you for, your logic, your calmness, your boundaries, is now the thing she misses the most. She used to tell you that you were too quiet, that you didn't open up enough. But now she realizes that silence was your greatest strength. Because real men don't shout their value, they embody it. They don't need to convince anyone. Their energy speaks louder than words. She realizes too late that your silence was never emptiness, it was depth. Your stillness wasn't disinterest, it was discipline. Your love wasn't routine, it was reliability. And now, surrounded by men who mistake attention for affection, she finally sees it. You were rare. But the truth about rare things is this: they only increase in value once they're gone. She'll try to move on, of course. She'll tell herself that what you had was just a chapter, that you weren't meant to last. But deep down, she knows that's not true. You weren't just another man in her story. You were the turning point. You were the one who showed her what real love feels like. Not the kind that burns bright and dies fast, but the kind that endures quietly. And once a woman experiences that kind of love, she can never go back to surface level connection. Every new relationship will be haunted by comparison. Every touch, every argument, every silence will remind her of what she lost. And that realization won't make her angry, it'll make her empty. Because she'll finally understand that what she thought was freedom was actually the slow decay of something sacred. But you'll thrive. You'll wake up one morning, months or years later, and realize you don't think about her anymore. Not out of suppression, but out of peace. You've learned what most men never do. That closure doesn't come from conversations, it comes from acceptance. You accepted that she wasn't meant to stay. You accepted that not every good heart deserves yours. You accepted that love isn't proven through endurance, it's measured through reciprocity. And with that acceptance came evolution. You stopped searching for women to complete you because you realized you were never incomplete. You don't chase love anymore, you attract it by living in truth. That's when life starts rewarding you. Better people, better energy, better alignment. You lost her, yes, but in doing so, you found a version of yourself that no heartbreak can ever touch again. And when she finally sees you again, in person, on social media, or through someone else's words, she'll go quiet. Because the man standing before her won't be the one she left. He'll be stronger, sharper, calmer, a man at peace with his past. She'll see the confidence in your eyes, the serenity in your energy, the discipline in your posture, and that's when she'll realize what you did. The one thing that made her regret everything. You didn't get revenge. You didn't seek validation. You glowed up in silence. You transformed pain into power. You let her feel the full weight of losing a man who never raised his voice but changed his life. And that's when she'll understand the truth. She tried to avoid. She didn't break you. She built you. And that realization will haunt her far longer than your love ever could. She'll never admit it publicly, but she'll start quietly comparing every man who comes after you. Not to your looks, not to your success, but to the way you made her feel without trying. That kind of authenticity is rare, and once it's gone, it leaves an ache that time doesn't erase. When she's with someone new, and the conversation feels shallow, she'll remember the nights you listened without judgment. When arguments with her new partner spiral into emotional chaos, she'll remember how you stayed calm even when she was trying to provoke you. She'll realize too late that your restraint wasn't emotional distance, it was discipline. You weren't cold, you were composed. And while she mistook that for lack of passion, now she understands it was the mark of a man who truly had control over himself. And for women who live in emotional storms, there's nothing more magnetic or more haunting than a man who stands still while the world around him spins. That's the cruel irony of it all. When she had you, she wanted excitement, but when she lost you, she craved peace. Because peace is what she now associates with love, and you're the face of that memory. She'll try to convince herself that she's moved on, that what you had wasn't as special as her heart keeps whispering it was. But every attempt to forget you only carves your presence deeper into her subconscious. Because you didn't just exist in her life, you changed her internal rhythm. You slowed her down. You made her feel safe enough to stop performing. And now, with every new man she meets, she feels the pressure to play a role again. To be interesting, fun, desirable. With you, she didn't have to act. She just was. And that kind of love, once lost, becomes the measuring stick by which all future loves are silently judged and found lacking. You, meanwhile, will move differently. Not in bitterness or arrogance, but with an ease that only comes from emotional freedom. You'll look back and realize that losing her wasn't a punishment, it was protection. The universe removed her from your path so you could finally meet the man you were supposed to become. You stopped trying to rescue people from their own immaturity. You stopped mistaking chaos for chemistry. You stopped chasing approval from people who don't even approve of themselves. Instead, you built quietly. You poured that same energy you once gave to her into your purpose, your health, your discipline. You learned how to sit with your emotions instead of reacting to them. And that emotional control, that calm masculinity, is what now draws the right kind of people into your orbit. You didn't lose love, you upgraded its quality by outgrowing its weakness. There will come a moment when she finally reaches her breaking point, the night when the weight of her decisions catches up. Maybe she's alone, maybe she's with someone new, but the silence will hit her differently this time. It won't be peaceful, it'll be suffocating, because it'll remind her of the silence you left behind and how yours didn't feel empty, it felt complete. She'll realize that all her running was just avoidance of herself, of accountability, of the love she wasn't mature enough to handle. And in that moment, it won't be anger she feels toward you. It'll be admiration mixed with sorrow, because now she understands why you stopped chasing, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started caring about yourself. You reached a level of self-respect that she can't reach anymore, and that's what stings the most. Not that she lost you, but that she can never access that version of herself again. As for you, you'll feel an unexpected calm when you think about her. No resentment, no regret, just gratitude, because she played her role perfectly. She forced you to face the parts of yourself you'd been ignoring. She taught you what self-worth looks like in real time, not through comfort, through contrast. You'll realize that every disappointment was a redirection, every heartbreak a revelation. She broke your heart, but in doing so, she opened your eyes. And with that clarity came the most powerful transformation of all. You stopped seeking love that drains you and started embodying love that fulfills you. You stopped trying to fix women who can't fix themselves. You stopped confusing attention for affection. You stopped chasing closure and started creating peace. And that peace, that quiet strength, that self-assured energy, that's what she'll feel every time your name crosses her mind. You became the lesson she'll never forget, and the man she'll never stop remembering. And as her life continues, she'll try to fill the void with ambition, travel, distractions, anything that makes her feel alive again. But everything will feel temporary, because nothing external can soothe the loss of something internal. And what she lost wasn't just you, it was the version of herself that existed when she was loved right. You represented stability, authenticity, and emotional safety, 3 things she didn't realize she needed until the chaos of her choices left her empty. She'll replay the past in her head like a movie that can't be rewritten. She'll think about the moment she decided to leave and how confident she felt walking away. Now that same confidence feels like arrogance. That same freedom feels like failure. And every time she tries to escape that memory, life will remind her. She didn't just lose a man, she lost her balance. You'll see glimpses of her every now and then, maybe in passing, maybe online. She might look happy, glowing, surrounded by new energy. But if you look closely, you'll see it. That flicker in her eyes, the one that gives away what she's hiding behind that smile. Because no amount of pretending can erase the ache of knowing you hurt someone who genuinely wished you well. You were never perfect, but you were pure. You didn't manipulate her, you didn't compete with her, you didn't play games, you just loved her, fully, deeply, and honestly. And for women who've been conditioned to mistake emotional chaos for romance, that kind of purity feels foreign, it feels unearned. So when they lose it, they spend years trying to find it again, only to realize it doesn't exist everywhere. It existed in you, and now, she'll have to live with the knowledge that she destroyed what every other woman secretly wants, a good man with peace in his soul. That's the kind of regret that doesn't fade, it transforms into nostalgia. She'll look back at your photos one day, maybe years later, and feel something heavy in her chest. Not because she still loves you, but because she finally understands you. She'll realize that you weren't trying to control her, you were trying to create harmony. You weren't too calm, you were grounded. You weren't too distant, you were focused. All the things she misinterpreted as flaws were actually the traits that made you a man worth keeping. And that truth will hurt her more than the breakup ever did, because breakups heal with time, but regret lingers when you know you had something real and walked away anyway. That's her burden to carry now. The awareness that she once had peace and traded it for chaos. And here's the part that most men don't realize. Your growth will not only inspire her, it will humble her. You'll become living proof of what she lost, not through words or revenge, but through your composure. The same patience she mocked, the same silence she misunderstood, the same consistency she took for granted, now they all define your strength. You became the archetype of everything she claimed she wanted, but couldn't handle when it stood before her. You turned pain into purpose, loss into leverage, heartbreak into higher ground. And now, whether she admits it or not, you've become the standard she'll measure every man against. That's not ego, that's evolution. You didn't win because she lost, you won because you learned. Eventually, you'll come to see that her regret isn't your closure, your peace is, because closure isn't found in her apology, it's found in your acceptance. You'll look back one final time, not with longing, but with gratitude, because she showed you the difference between being wanted and being valued, between being loved out of excitement and being loved out of respect. And in losing her, you found something better than any relationship. You found yourself. You'll realize that walking away wasn't an ending, it was an awakening. And as for her, she'll keep wondering when it all went wrong. She'll keep trying to recreate what she once had with you, but she never will, because what you built with her wasn't ordinary. It was a reflection of who you were, rare, calm, grounded, real. And once a woman loses that kind of man, she doesn't move on, she simply learns to live with the echo of what she destroyed. Over time, her thoughts of you won't come in waves, they'll come in patterns, little triggers, scattered through her days, quietly reminding her of what she let slip away. The sound of your favorite song in a cafe, the way someone else's cologne smells faintly like yours, the subtle calm of a man sitting confidently at a table alone, all of it will take her back to you. Not to the version of you she left, but to the man you became after she left, because that's the version that truly haunts her. The one she never got to know, the one who stopped explaining himself, the one who learned to walk away with dignity instead of desperation, the one whose silence became louder than her drama. She'll realize that your growth didn't come from spite, it came from self-respect, and that truth will sting because it means you didn't need her pain to become powerful. You were already that man, she just couldn't see it through the fog of her own immaturity. Now she's trapped in a loop of what ifs. What if she had been more patient? What if she had matched your energy instead of testing it? What if she had chosen loyalty over ego? But life doesn't rewind for reflection, it only plays forward, and so she'll live her new chapters with that quiet ache of knowing the best part of her story already ended. You became the unfinished sentence in her book, the one she rereads in her mind, wondering how different things could have been if she hadn't let her pride write the ending. That's the punishment life gives to those who take good people for granted. They spend forever chasing ghosts they created. You, on the other hand, don't chase ghosts anymore. You've outgrown the need to be understood, validated, or even remembered, because you finally understand a man's worth isn't proven by how hard he fights for love, but by how peacefully he lets go when love stops deserving him. And here's what she'll never say out loud. Seeing you truly happy will break her. Not because she wants to ruin it, but because it confirms what she's been trying to deny, that you moved on without bitterness. She'll see it in your eyes, that glow that can't be faked, that serenity that can't be bought. Maybe you'll be with someone new, someone who appreciates what she ignored, someone who looks at you the way she used to before she stopped appreciating what she had. And that image will burn into her mind, not because she's jealous of your new love, but because she knows you deserve it. She'll smile politely, pretend she's fine, but behind that calm exterior, she'll feel something collapse inside her. The realization that she was supposed to be standing beside you in that moment, and now she can't, because she traded permanence for pleasure, peace for pride, depth for distraction. That's when she'll start rewriting the story in her head, convincing herself you weren't really that great, that she did what she had to do, that it wouldn't have worked out anyway. But the heart doesn't care about rationalizations. It remembers energy. It remembers the sound of your laughter when life was simple, the way you'd quietly understand things she couldn't even say, the way your presence alone felt grounding, and those memories will come back stronger than her denial, because the truth doesn't need to scream, it just waits patiently until the noise dies down, and when it does, she'll face it. She hurt a man who genuinely loved her, and in doing so, she broke a part of herself that no one else will ever heal. That's the hidden cost of losing a good man. It's not just about losing him, it's about losing the woman she was when he loved her. Meanwhile, you'll keep evolving. You'll learn to trust life again, but on your own terms. You'll stop looking at relationships as something to complete you, and instead, as something to complement you. You'll stop chasing potential and start recognizing patterns. You'll see red flags for what they are, not what you want them to be. You'll attract people who value consistency over chaos. You'll become a man who doesn't fall for words, but for peace. Because you've lived through manipulation, emotional instability, and silent betrayal, and you survived it all by staying still while the storm passed. That stillness, it became your strength. And now every step you take forward carries the quiet power of a man who knows his worth. The kind of man women don't forget, not because he tried to be remembered, but because he left behind something rare, emotional integrity. She'll see that integrity everywhere you go. In the way you treat people, in how you handle pressure, in how you never talk down about her or anyone else who wronged you. That grace, that restraint, that quiet poise, it'll bother her more than any angry reaction ever could. Because she'll realize she lost a man who could have destroyed her reputation, but chose to protect her dignity instead. That's the moment her regret will deepen into respect. She'll finally understand that real strength isn't loud, and real masculinity isn't dominance, it's discipline. You didn't get even, you got better. You didn't lower yourself to prove a point. You elevated yourself so high that she can't even reach your peace anymore. And now, she's left replaying moments, searching for cracks, trying to convince herself that maybe it wasn't her fault. But deep down, she knows you were everything she asked the universe for. She just wasn't ready to receive it. Time will keep passing, and life will keep moving. You'll find yourself at peace with the past, not because it didn't hurt, but because it helped. You'll look back and realize that every ounce of pain she caused was the pressure that built your strength. You'll start to thank the heartbreak for teaching you what self-respect feels like. You'll thank the silence for showing you the difference between love and attachment. You'll thank yourself for walking away, even when it hurt to, and in that gratitude, you'll find something most men never do. Closure that doesn't depend on anyone else. You'll become emotionally bulletproof, not because you stopped feeling, but because you learned how to channel your feelings. You no longer react, you respond. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer explain, you embody. And that evolution, it's the final chapter of her story, but only the beginning of yours. She, on the other hand, will live with the quiet kind of pain that doesn't scream, it lingers, the kind that doesn't keep her up every night, but sneaks up during the calm ones. When she sees couples walking together, when she hears your name in passing, when she stumbles upon an old message that still smells like hope, she'll scroll through your profile, trying to convince herself she's just curious, but the truth will be harder to swallow. She's still emotionally tied to a man who outgrew her world. You became the symbol of everything she didn't understand about love, that it's not about excitement or control, but about peace and presence. And now, she'll watch you from a distance, realizing she was never replaced, she was released. Because no man truly replaces a woman, he simply heals from her and moves beyond her. Your story in the end won't be one of heartbreak, it'll be one of rebirth. You'll rise from what broke you with a level of calm that unnerves people. You'll understand that strength isn't loud or aggressive, it's in restraint, patience, and consistency. You'll carry that wisdom into everything you do, your work, your friendships, your purpose. And as you continue to grow, life will reward you with peace, so deep, it'll make you grateful for the pain that once kept you awake at night, because now you see it clearly. She didn't destroy you, she revealed you. Her leaving didn't break your heart, it broke your illusion. And what emerged from that heartbreak wasn't a colder man, it was a wiser one. And someday, when she finally gathers the courage to reach out one last time, maybe a message, maybe a glance, maybe just a silence filled with longing, you'll smile. Not with arrogance, but with peace. Because by then, you'll understand that love isn't always meant to be kept. Sometimes it's meant to awaken you. You won't need her to apologize. You won't need her to regret it out loud. Her actions already said enough. You'll simply wish her well, genuinely, and move on. Because you've reached the stage of emotional mastery where you don't seek closure through her suffering. You find it in your stillness, and that's the ultimate justice. Not revenge, not validation, but transcendence. You became what she never expected, the man who didn't just survive her leaving, but thrived because of it. And for the rest of her life, every time she hears your name, she won't remember the man she left, she'll remember the man she couldn't destroy. At some point, the silence between you will become deafening, not because of anger, but because of the sheer contrast between what was and what is. She'll scroll through old photos, messages, and memories, not looking for you but for proof that what she felt was once real. But the more she looks, the clearer it becomes. You were never the problem. You were the mirror reflecting back all the chaos she refused to confront. You didn't abandon her. You simply stopped trying to fix what was never yours to fix. And that realization will slice through her pride like glass. Because for the first time, she'll have to face a truth most women avoid, that love without accountability always dies. She'll remember how you used to listen, how you stayed calm during storms, how you carried her burdens without asking for credit. And the thought that she pushed away the one man who understood her will echo in her mind every time someone new fails to. The tragedy of her journey is that she'll keep meeting reflections of you, but never the real thing. Men who mimic your confidence but not your character. Men who talk smooth but fall apart under pressure. Men who claim to be different but disappear at the first sign of difficulty. She'll search for the depth she once dismissed, only to find that the world is full of noise. Men loud about their worth because they have none. You, on the other hand, became quiet. Not out of apathy, but out of mastery. You no longer argue for understanding. You simply live in truth. And that truth radiates from you now, in how you move, how you speak, how you treat yourself. She'll notice it. The whole world will. Because genuine energy doesn't need validation. It attracts respect effortlessly. And when she finally sees you again, not through a screen, not in passing, but in person, it will all come rushing back. That calm presence, that subtle confidence, that air of peace that feels both familiar and unattainable. She'll want to speak, but won't know what to say, because what can you say to a man who no longer needs your validation? She'll look for traces of the boy who once waited for her attention, but that boy is gone. In his place stands a man forged in silence and clarity. You'll notice her, of course, but not with longing, with compassion, because you'll understand now that she was never your enemy. She was your teacher. Her leaving didn't destroy you, it refined you. And in that moment, the dynamic reverses. The one who once had the power to break you now feels powerless in your calm. She'll go home that night, unable to sleep, because the version of you she just saw will linger in her mind like a song she can't stop humming. She'll think about how your eyes didn't flinch, how your voice stayed even, how your energy felt so free, and that will torture her, not because she wants you back, but because she knows she can't reach you anymore. Emotional distance is the one thing that can't be undone. She'll remember how you once responded instantly, how you once cared too much, how you once tried too hard, and now she'll see what she never could, that the love she once treated like a safety net was actually a one-time gift. You can't demand from a man what you once took for granted. She had your heart once, but she no longer has your access. That's the power of emotional detachment. It doesn't punish, it liberates. You no longer move from reaction, but from reflection. You've learned to observe, not absorb. You see her behavior not as betrayal anymore, but as revelation. You understand that her chaos wasn't personal, it was her pattern. You were just the one strong enough to endure it, long enough to recognize it. And that's the thing about emotionally grounded men. They don't seek revenge, they outgrow everything that hurt them. Your healing became the silent revenge she never saw coming. Because while she's still trying to fill emotional voids with attention and validation, you filled yours with discipline, purpose, and presence. You stopped chasing women and started chasing your potential. That shift, that internal power, that's what separates men who stay broken from those who rebuild into legends. Now, every woman who enters your life will sense it, that quiet strength that doesn't need to prove itself. It's in your posture, your tone, your patience. It's the kind of energy that makes chaos calm down just by being near you. You're no longer desperate for connection because you've made peace with solitude. And ironically, that's what makes you irresistible now. You've become the kind of man who doesn't pursue attention, but commands it without trying. Women will wonder what makes you different, and the truth is simple. You've known pain, and didn't let it turn you bitter. You've known love, and didn't let it make you naive. You've mastered balance, the rarest form of masculine energy, and that's exactly what she sees now and can't unsee. You became the standard she once mocked but will now never stop measuring others against. As for her, life will humble her in the exact way it needed to. She'll face men who mirror the same disregard she once showed you. She'll get ghosted by men who don't care, manipulated by men who only want her for validation, abandoned by men who lack depth. Each time, she'll remember you. Not because she misses you, but because you're the only one who truly saw her. And that's the curse of losing someone who loved you in silence. You'll never find that peace again. She'll try to distract herself, to keep moving forward, but the weight of regret doesn't fade, it adapts. It becomes quieter, more disguised, but it never really leaves. It hides behind her laughter, her achievements, her attempts to look unbothered. But every time she's alone, that quiet truth returns. She lost a man who would have never given up on her, and it was her doing. And that's when you finally understand something most men never grasp. That peace isn't found in being loved by the right woman. It's found in becoming the right man. You no longer measure success by who stays. You measure it by how centered you remain when they leave. You don't beg for love anymore. You embody it. You don't chase understanding. You radiate clarity. You realize now that relationships don't define your value, your energy does. And as that truth settles deeper into your bones, you'll start attracting only those who match your frequency. No more chasing potential. No more fixing broken people. Just alignment, peace, and power. That's what your silence built. Not walls, but wisdom. Eventually the tables turn completely. She'll look at you, not as an ex, not as a memory, but as a mirror of what she could have had if she'd chosen differently. You look at her, not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Because in her absence, you found your essence. You stopped performing for love and started living in truth. You learned that the real test of strength isn't how much you can endure, but how gracefully you can walk away from what doesn't align. You became unshakable, not because life got easier, but because you stopped expecting others to make you whole. And that transformation, that's the ultimate victory. Not proving her wrong, but proving yourself right. So when all is said and done, when years have passed, when memories have faded, when you've built a life so grounded that her name no longer stirs emotion, remember this: you didn't lose her, she lost you. You didn't fail to hold her attention, she failed to deserve your peace. You didn't walk away because you stopped caring. You walked away because you started caring. You walked away because you started respecting yourself. And that single decision changed everything. Because the man who learns to let go with grace is the one the world cannot break. You became that man. And while she'll keep wondering if you ever think of her, you won't, not because you forgot her, but because you finally remembered yourself. And that, my friend, is the kind of power no heartbreak can ever take away.